Good morning, fam, or extended family. We'll talk about death today, and it's something so close to my heart as someone who has or had suffered panic attacks from 23. My fear was of dying, and subsequently, not long after that, probably 5 years or so quite a long time in the scheme of things. And I did a lot of hypnotherapy at the time, which was amazing. And my sister passed away, and my journey since then has really been about the discovery of life after this one. And we have such a thing against death. Like we don't go into it. One of the practices that was part of my journey, and that I think everyone should do, is seeing your body dead, lying there as a corpse. And death is such a confronting space. We resist it because we are unfamiliar with what is on the other side, or a belief, or just being comfortable in nothing is really the challenging part, isn't it? Being nothing. It's a practice that great spiritual leaders in this world, the ascended masters, being nothing is the place of great empowerment and peace and harmony. But death is that next step to understanding that the experience of this life is far greater than this physical experience, and it's hard for our mind to comprehend or even fathom. And so that when we resist it, we then judge it as a bad or a good thing. And it's neither. Death is such an important part of our life. My experience through my sister passing was one that I decided that it wasn't going to be something in vain, and from that moment on, she shifted my trajectory into a much greater understanding of myself. And I think that's where death plays a part in our lives, is that it is the catapult of change when we are asleep. We can definitely, obviously, do the other part where it becomes about our loss and our fear and our tears, and it all just kind of gets combined into one big glorified mess. And then that never really gets addressed, does it? It just gets put into a basket of, this was this thing that happened, and therefore, it was this thing that happened, rather than the other part, which was, there's this thing that happened that was so mind-blowingly shaking my core and my foundation that I decided to lean into it and start to understand what made me feel so uncomfortable, what the grief was that I needed to experience, and what would it mean if I grabbed or understood more of that connection that was potentially available. Do you know what I mean? Like, for a long time, I tried to understand why my sister passed. Like, I wanted a mathematical equation. Okay, so if this happens, that means that, and then and then I could have control over the situation. So I had this, synopsis of this idea of what it would mean if someone was to die and why it happened, and blah, blah, blah. And, obviously that's not possible, and the mind tries to control one other element because we don't want to die, The fact is we don't want to die because we don't understand it. So when we don't understand something, we resist or we put it aside, and we don't want to lean into it. Why would we want to lean into it? Fuck, I don't want to know more about this. Like, this is uncertainty, And with the COVID was another perfect reason as to how fear embraced everyone, and the media did an amazing job, protecting the idea of what was potentially going to happen to people. And look, I'm not saying that people didn't die, but people die. People died. People die every day, every second. It is part of life. You can keep resisting it and you can keep putting it aside, but I can absolutely encourage you that the ability to go lean into it and contemplate what it is that you resist so much with death. What is it that holds us back from not wanting to lean into the understanding of what is on the other side, and if there is anything on the other side? Because there's so much more than our physical body, and the more we resist the idea of that, the more our life becomes fearful. We get led by the masses of media. People dying in international countries, oh, we better not go there. People dying doing activities, oh, we better not do that. People dying, and the more you associate yourself with just this body, the more you will be in alignment to what is being told as a story as an external source, be it through media or whatever else you're watching. And there's no life there really when you think about it. I mean, sure, you're existing, you're breathing, you're feeling the sun, you're eating good food. But is there more? Is there more available to you? Is there more that you could be experiencing if we start to understand that we're much more than this physical body, that this experience in life and death is an absolute necessary part for us to embrace? What is on the other side of you embracing death? What does it look like to go, hey, a friend or a sister or my parents or whatever, my boyfriend, my husband, they've died. What is it on the other side of leaning into that and going, what's in this for me? How can I honor them? What would they like me to see in my passing? What would they like me to see as something that they would really love me to experience in this life? And you lean into it, and then you just allow everything to flow towards you, because you've begun being open. You've begun in the possibility that there's far more than this physical body. That death isn't something that we hold on to and we refrain from because we're scared of the unknown. That we lean into it and accept it. That we accept that this is just part of our life, and that we go, okay, well, this is part of my life. Let's start loving it. Let's start loving the process from birth to death, and see what happens. It's taught me so much, and death will always be here. It doesn't make it any easier. Losing a friend or your sister, your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, it doesn't get any easier. But there's a much bigger depth of love and appreciation and connection to that person that's outside of just this physical world that we live in. And I think if we were open to experiencing more of that, then we would be more open to not being so fear-based as a society and allowing media to dictate what is something they can control us over. Because it's always going to happen, no matter what. And you can't run from it, you can't control it, and you can't hide from it. I mean, you can hide from it, but when that time comes, does it make it any easier? No. It'd make it a lot harder. So anyway, these are my thoughts for today, and I'm sending you absolute love and light in the experience of the unfolding of what's on the other side.